In life, it can be hard to make the decision whether or not you should choose to stand your ground and fight, or attempt to avoid conflict altogether and try and evade it. These two options should be valued equally, and I've been contemplating whether or not I should continue with boxing. I've got my next fight in a week's time. I had a slight head injury during sparring, but nothing too bad, which was it was like 2 months ago. During this time, I had to reflect and consider how I should move forward, which did make me doubt whether or not I would go in the ring again. That's until I read the book Art of War by Sun Tzu, a Chinese military general. His popular writings have influenced philosophies in areas of life, business, and of course warfare. He famously won battles by not fighting unnecessarily, but tactically, rather than wasting garrisons of soldiers in an effort to stimulate movement on the battlefield. He took advantage of environmental, physical, and mental areas of warfare. Here are some of the takeaways of the Art of War that you can use to give you an edge in your own life. You should always seem like you're weak when you are strong, and you should appear strong when you are weak. The key takeaway from Sun Tzu is that battles are not won by brawn, but actually by mindset. And one of the biggest contributors to one's success in any arena, whether that's combat or whether that's business negotiations, is knowing your worth. If you feel confident and ready, maybe it's not worth initially engaging in a debate if your colleague is frustrating you. By appearing genuinely kind and submissive, you can get them to lower their defenses and their guard a little bit. Also, there might be days where we feel a little bit more tired than others. You know, this does happen. But we can take steps to reduce these symptoms through rest, but when we're feeling these effects, you might not be able to do that. If you're tired in a boxing match, you do not want your opponent to find out that you're tired. The fatigue is visible in your eyes, and it's like a big glowing sign that says you are vulnerable. The thing is that you want to appear intimidating by fainting and always moving, so that your next move cannot be predicted. The reverse is true. If you feel strong, leave the bait for your opponent to snatch, and look for emotional factors like fear that you can take advantage of. During 771 to 256 BCE, around when the book was written, generals of this era would make big mistakes, and this would sometimes be sending all the available men to assault a region, which results in something like a third of the men being wiped out in a single attack. Sun Tzu had this to say: a clever fighter is someone that engages making little to no mistakes. It is therefore evident that the opponent has lost before the encounter has begun. Now, I know what you're probably saying. I'm not in a war, or I'm not going to fight people. I'm just a regular person. What does this have to do with me? And what I'm going to say is a little different to warfare, but committing 100% to your task, perfecting it, is what separates the wheat from the chaff, if that makes sense. The little victories and intricacies of your craft, when mastered, is what will yield you an impressive result. For example, I know that implementing stretching and mobility yoga into every day of the week it's been life-changing in my life. I have fewer injuries than I normally would, so when I'm training I can expect the best results possible. Even though I do find it boring from time to time, I learn to separate the emotion from the task at hand and look at it in terms of the long-term benefits, which does help me. Having a strong sense of self-identity is crucial when taking on any task. No matter how you perform, you should learn to separate your ego from yourself. It sounds really stupid, but I actually used to really get upset when my friends would make jokes at my expense. I actually found it really hard to separate the joke from myself. In relation to this flaw, Sun Tzu says, if you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. If you know yourself but not the enemy, for every victory gained, you will also suffer a defeat. If you know neither the enemy nor yourself, you will succumb in every battle. Something that used to give me a little bit of anxiety, and it still does to be fair, is attending gyms where previous opponents that I've fought attended. Even though these gyms are reputable and really decent places to work out and become fit and develop your skills, I didn't want to be going to this gym where I'd be known as that guy who'd lost to so-and-so, etc. This thought process, it's a destructive belief. If you have failed at something and get intimidated by the prospect of facing that challenge again, the first place you should start really is by defining your fear. Like, what are you afraid of? Is it humiliation? Is it the pain or being uncomfortable? When you're able to separate the way you see yourself from the very thing that makes you anxious or unsure, you can see things more logically. Think about what your fears are precisely, and you'll be able to define them, if that makes sense. Also define the likelihood of those things actually happening. You'll get closer to knowing the truth about yourself. Paying attention to where a defense or resistance is being placed is very important. Sun Tzu preaches that if the right side on a battlefield is defended, the left will be open, vice versa with the front and back. However, in our own lives, we can all appreciate that we can't be in all places at once. That's just impossible. The time that you spend with your friends at the pub might actually take you away from spending time with your family or helping them cook dinner. It's 100% not possible to have this balance correct all the time, but looking at yourself honestly in this way can actually help you identify your own weaknesses. This can also be said in reference to your attitude towards certain things. In the morning, do you leap out of bed? Does your heart start beating and you kind of jump up, or do you hit the snooze button and let the alarm delay you for a little bit? Only you know the answer to these questions. The thing is, never become stale. Always be looking to evolve your tactics and your plan. Even if, for example, you have mapped out your finances for the next year, plans can always change. The unforeseeable happens more often than you think. Being willing to adapt your approach in every so often is a very valuable thing to do. What this does is create a diverse moveset, because you don't wait for things to happen, you're always being proactive. You should be fluid like water and strong like rock. Sun Tzu mentions that, so in war, the way is to avoid what is strong and to strike at what is weak. This is why appearing at places where your enemy least expects you is key. If there's a chance that your car might require a mechanic to fix like a faulty mechanism, start preempting that by putting money aside for the repairs in the future. Rather than wasting energy worrying about what might happen, you've already prepared for that possibility. You should know the territory of your life, like what terrain you're moving into. The unknown rivers and valleys and all of those things put in perspective are unavoidable. You can't control the sudden knee-jerk reaction that your boss might have to fire you from your job. Likewise, you can't avoid a loved one getting like a life-threatening illness. But what can help is actually exploring these possibilities actually happening. This is a form of safe-proofing, and it's not just from these events happening, but it's also protecting your emotional state once they do happen. Sun Tzu makes a very good point that if you are a leader that is weak-willed, you'll most likely be overwhelmed by people that are stronger than you. I've had this when I've had to train people that have had like these personalities that have kind of overpowered mine because I haven't been ready for it. The thing is, if you're too militant, the people that you lead will be intimidated in your presence and will crack under the pressure. Say for instance though, if you're a manager of a leader in an organization, for example, it makes sense to recognize when you're under pressure, and that at this point you should focus your energy to your subordinates with precision. If they need to submit a report at the end of the week or even that very day, don't ridicule them for getting things wrong. Push them, but don't exhaust them. Do it in a concentrated effort so that way they do not get burnt out or lack the motivation to ever work that hard again, because we've all been in that place. Energy and strength is invaluable when trying to hit a goal, but wasting it is unforgivable. Sun Tzu mentions of a snake found in the the Chung Mountains called the Shaijan, and apologies if I got the pronunciation really wrong. I couldn't actually find out if there was an actual snake that existed called the Shaijan, but I did find one called the spider-tailed horned viper, which is as terrifying as it does sound. It actually has a little spider on the end of its body that is actually a tail, and it lures victims in with its deceiving appearance, then attacks with its head, and then if the head is attacked, the tail springs into action. This type of offense and defense is critical. If the correct approach is taken here, your weaknesses aren't actually truly weak spots, because your overriding strengths can counter any sort of maneuver that comes your way, really. And the way that I try to carry this on is, in my life, trying to be continuously present. What this means is about knowing if I'm working too hard and if I need to rest. At the same time, if I am working not enough, shows that I need to prioritize work commitments or even put a bit of attention on side projects that are coming my way. I know the saying is that the jack of all trades is the master of none, but you have to be in complete union with yourself in terms of your physical and your mental body. If you manage to do that, you'll actually be unstoppable. Anyways, a bit of the deep one this week. I thought it'd be fitting with my boxing match that's coming up. Maybe I'll post something about that, who knows. Let me know your thoughts, like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.